Great. So, hi to anyone who just joined. I have just started recording. So, like I said, kind of feel free to use the chat box or come off mute if you've got any questions. We're trying to keep this to half an hour, but there should be more than enough time to engage with me at the end. And I'm happy to share my email address if you wanted to have a kind of longer conversation about anything that I discussed today. So, it is recorded. But I will stop recording at the end. So if you do want to ask questions, but you're a bit anxious about being recorded for whatever reason, you can ask questions after I've stopped recording. But I'll keep an eye on the chat box and everything. So I'll get started then. Today's session, we're going to be looking at LinkedIn. And the idea of this session is to kind of know how to maximize your profile, start developing some good connections, and looking at the networking features. So I've got a few videos that I'm going to show you that I've recorded just of me on my own LinkedIn profile, because I think that's quite an easy way to show you how to start making the most of some of these functions. So just kind of before we get going then, who here has a LinkedIn page? You can either show me by hands up or use the chat box. Have we got anyone here with a LinkedIn page already? Yeah, perfect. Caroline's got one. Nice one. Susan, Turfler, and nice. That's perfect. Great. So we're in a good position. So LinkedIn was started in 2002, which feels like a long time ago now. And it's obviously a networking website, which you'll know if you've got one. It's for professionals and it's very far-reaching. There's over 200 countries on LinkedIn, and I checked this morning, and it told me that there was 830 million members. So it's a really good and interesting place to be. Both if you're looking for employment, if you're wanting to stay up to date in your field. There's always some very interesting articles on there. So yeah, it's just a very good and powerful tool. And today we'll be talking about how to make the most of your profile and LinkedIn in general. So it's good that some of you have got them, but if you haven't, don't worry. This should all still kind of make sense to you. And like I said, feel free to book time with me if you do want to go through anything after. I'll put my email address in the chat box after we finish. So how to maximize your profile then? A professional picture, writing headline, creating your own URL, an about section, and your experience and education section. We're going to go into each of these into a bit more detail, and add skills. Oh, and get recommendations and aim for an all-star profile, which is really interesting. I don't know if you've come across it yet, but this is kind of LinkedIn have highlighted the areas that you need to become very searchable. And so we'll talk about the things you need to kind of tick all those boxes. Very straightforward. And now LinkedIn actually have a feature that talks you through it. So you can kind of use that and make sure that you're hitting all the marks, and it will kind of rate you on where you're falling at the moment. So profile picture then, studies show that you're 14 times more likely to be viewed if you have a profile picture. So you want it to be professional, and here's some examples, and I'm sure everyone's seen kind of terrible examples, but I thought I'd focus on the positive, and here's some very good examples of professional photos. Pick a picture that looks like you. I think that's very important, certainly in the virtual environment. Um, some of my colleagues I still haven't met face to face. I just kind of know them from profile pictures and Teams meetings. So it's important that you pick a picture that does actually look like you. High resolution, so you don't want it to be too blurry. For me, that just kind of reflects someone who's taken the time, kind of focuses on things looking presentable. So yeah, definitely make sure it's high resolution. These are kind of the specifics. So these pictures are a good example here. Make sure that your face takes up at least 60% of the frame. You can see on these pictures that people have quite a plain background, and that's good because it doesn't take away from your face. The only person in the picture, I think sometimes you see pictures taken on a night out, maybe where you've got your arm around someone and they're just kind of cropped out. Try and make sure that you're the only person in the picture. And it's so easy to kind of take pictures nowadays with webcams, and phones have very high pixel cameras. So it is kind of easy to get that professional look, even without having a professional camera or having a workplace that will take them for you. It's kind of easy to recreate these kind of pictures in your own home now. So yeah, like I said, you kind of want a plain background. The focus should be on you and your face. And yeah, make sure that you look formal. So wear what you'd wear to work. You can see a few different outfits in these pictures, and that's just reflective of the type of clothes that they'd be wearing to their own workplaces. Yeah, natural light, which I think is good for any picture, but certainly a professional one, just to make sure that people can see who you are. So that's kind of your profile photo. And then moving on to your headline, which I've kind of highlighted here using the red box. It's the bit that sits directly underneath your name, and it kind of is your personal brand, or it might be the role you're actually in. If you're not in a role at the moment, it might be something that you think describes who you are or the type of role you'd like to be in. It might tell people your prime skill or your strengths, and it kind of gives them the reason to connect with you. Um, if you look at these two, you can see that the first one that she's kind of said specifically what she's looking for. She's just called it out really clearly. So if you're a recruiter and you're skipping through hundreds of profiles a day, immediately you're going to know what this person is looking for. And then you see at the bottom, the guy, he's a founder and CEO. You know exactly what he is, and if he's looking for business to business connections, he's kind of called that out in that bit. So it kind of portrays what you want your profile to get across in kind of a neat sentence. Um, so yeah, it people tend to take kind of 5 to 10 seconds on each profile, so every second counts. And if you can really quickly sell yourself in that line, then it's worth putting a bit of time into it and thinking what really reflects me. Why am I on LinkedIn, and what do I want? What kind of people do I want to connect with? And if it's recruiters, you might be looking to do something more like the lady at the top, or if it's business connections, you might be looking to call out your role. Um, so yeah, that's the headline bit. Again, this all kind of feeds into that all-star status that we were talking about. So the about section then, this is 2,000 characters max. This is probably teeny tiny on your screen, so don't worry if you can't read it. I just really wanted to show what it might look like if it's done properly. It might be quite similar to, we ran a CV workshop as well, and I don't know if you've been on it, but we kind of talk about the profile. So the bit that the opening statement almost, you can try and get your personality across in there. I think it can be quite hard to get your personality across when you're just giving facts and information about qualifications you might have or duties you might have had. But this kind of gets across your personality. And if you can read this one, I'll read kind of the first sentence just to give you an idea. So it says, one of my first memories in school is going to a parent teacher conference in kindergarten and having my teacher tell my parents, Desiree is definitely one of the most talkative, no matter where I move her in the class, and communicates with everyone. And then this person goes on, she's a recruiter. So that's like a talent she's had since she was a kid. I think it's just nice. It kind of makes your profile a bit more personable. And then kind of saying your duties or your qualifications that occurred. So getting into the detail about the about section, um, it's it's 2,000 characters max, which is about 400 words. But remember, it's a summary, and the selling kind of can be done with the rest of your LinkedIn profile. But this is just the narrative that sits on top. It can be kind of less formal than the rest of it, and you could kind of use some keywords. So tailor it to the role that you're going for. And if something changes with you and the role you're going for changes, make sure you're kind of updating LinkedIn. It's definitely something that you should be going back to every time you kind of either change your direction in career, or maybe find out something new that you want to share or add a qualification. So that's your about section there. So the other really cool thing about LinkedIn, this is a fairly new feature, so it might be worth just double checking whether you've done this. And it's good, make sure that it's added to your CV, and that if you do add it to your CV, it actually works. The link you can click on. So this is mine, and when you're on the home screen, um, you like this is the entire page, excuse me, and then you can go to this, which I've circled in green, edit public profile and URL, and it takes you to this bit, and you can type in. So this is mine; it's just my name, and I'm quite lucky because I've managed to get that. I must have been quick, though I don't remember being quick. to get that. You might not be able to get your name if other people have it, but it's worth just trying to tailor it because it looks very smart on your CV. So yeah, make sure you go ahead and have a look on LinkedIn and see if you can tweak your own URL. So work experience then, and it might be slightly different to your CV. It's more kind of internet text. So you can do the bullet points. You want it to be easy to read. You don't necessarily need to include every part-time or casual job if it doesn't feel relevant for the roles you're going for. However, if in those jobs you learn something that you think has really benefited you or will benefit a future employer, then definitely include it. So just like a CV, you start with the most recent and work your way back, but it does that for you automatically. It's quite intuitive and clever, which you'll know, as some of you already have a profile. Kind of 3 to 4 bullet points for each job, and make sure it corresponds with your CV, because now the two kind of work hand in hand. So you have your LinkedIn profile and your CV, and recruiters will kind of cross check and make sure that everything makes sense. So do make sure that if you're updating one, you're updating the other, and they're both kind of reflective of each other. So that's your work experience. And like I said, we do run other workshops on kind of CVs, which will kind of help you more around the wording of that. Education, again, important to include on there, and it's all kind of self-formatted, so it sits very neatly on the page. So start with current courses and work back. Give the full name of your college, and if you spell it correctly um, and kind of format it well, you'll be able to actually get the logo, and that looks really smart, of the university or wherever you've done your qualification. You can get into the details if it's relevant for the roles you're trying to attract. Get into the details, kind of share the project information if it's something that you think is going to benefit you and you want a recruiter to know. So I've kind of taken a few videos, like I said, so I'm just going to share one now. This is of skills, which are slightly different to the ones that you might have on your CV. So I'm just going to show you how to do those. So I think there we go. So it started. So I'm hoping this doesn't make you feel sick. I'm just kind of scrolling down my page at the moment. This is kind of the layout of mine. And you go to the skills section, and it will kind of bring up ones that it thinks is relevant for your role, and they might be relevant or there might be other ones. So you could click on the ones that you think you're good at. So coaching and interviewing, and then you might want to add one. So there's a free box text and you can type that in. Here's me trying to think of one. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So I've typed in one and it's kind of pulling the ones it thinks might be relevant. And then I'm adding those. And then they sit there on my LinkedIn page. So you can see them there. I've added them. And you can get endorsements. And that's quite useful to do. So you can see in employee relations, I used to be in HR. These are some of my old colleagues that have endorsed me in that have said, yeah, I can kind of vouch for this person. It's almost like a reference, and that's why it's almost more powerful than your CV, because other people are saying, yeah, I agree, I support this person, and I've seen that in action. So definitely look for endorsements, and don't feel afraid to approach colleagues or people you may have studied with or done projects with or volunteered with if you think that you've called out a skill and you'd like them to endorse you, because I think it's quite a powerful thing, and it's fairly unique to LinkedIn, so it's definitely worth making the most of it. When going for that all-star status, then you kind of need at least 3 of these. So I've got a few more. But kind of as you build up your career, you'll kind of work on the keywords, and especially if you're going for roles, they're going to call out the keywords that they're looking for in the job description. And you can be quite crafty and go on and make sure that they're on your LinkedIn profile and maybe ask for a few people to endorse you. So perfect. That's the skills section. So I've been kind of banging on about this a bit, but here's the all-star profile in a bit more detail. And like I said, it's kind of like the wizard function on Microsoft when you're trying to do a mail merge. It talks you through it, so it tells you what to do next. So in order to get the all-star profile, you need to have a photo, and we've spoken about what kind of photo that might be. You need to have the headline, which is that little selling sentence underneath the profile. Um, you need to have, which is the about section, to have a good summary, your current position, which then draws to the top. experience, education, skills, and at least 50 connections. Now, 50 can maybe sound like a lot, but I'm going to show you how to get those connections. And it's kind of different to other social media platforms because I think people are more prepared to connect, not necessarily based on knowing you, but maybe based on your experience and the kind of field you're in, and maybe just a shared interest rather than shared connections. But certainly having shared connections helps when you're looking to increase your network. So LinkedIn have done a bit of research into people with all-star profiles, and they say that you're 40 times more likely to be contacted if you tick all of these boxes. So yeah, we're kind of going to keep pushing through now. I'm just conscious of time, but that's your star profile. And like I said, you don't need to be making notes on this particular side. LinkedIn's going to talk you through it step by step. So connections, then, like I said, there's a certain amount you need to aim for if you're trying to get that all-star profile. And I know some of you already have LinkedIn, and you may already have over the 50 connections. But having the connections kind of just helps build your network. It kind of broadens your horizons as to what jobs might be on the market. You might know of someone who knows someone that posts a job. Or post something that you're interested in or an area that you're studying and want to develop in. Definitely join any groups you can that you think are interesting. Follow companies that you're interested in that you might have an aspiration to work for one day. Individuals and influencers, you'd be amazed at the different kind of business people that are on LinkedIn and the kind of information they're sharing. So it's very cool and it's a very interesting way to stay in the loop of your industry or your field or whatever you're interested in. And you can absolutely be in control of who sees what, which is in your settings. So get to know your settings and your privacy tab and make sure you're comfortable with what you're putting out and what people might be able to see of yours, which I kind of briefly go through in a second. So building your network then, I definitely recommend personalizing your invite if you are planning to connect with someone. But have a look on LinkedIn and search for like classmates or colleagues or professional contacts you might know, and that's a good way to expand. And if you're kind of new to LinkedIn and you're looking to build up a network fairly quickly, just kind of 15, 30 minutes a week is really going to build that network quickly. And as you start connecting with people, they'll start connecting with you too. And personalize the message. So make sure that they know why you're wanting to connect with them. And so this is another quick video. It's just about searching LinkedIn and all the different things you can pull up. So I'm typing in here inclusive recruitment because that's an area that I'm interested in. And LinkedIn kind of allows you to search by what inclusive recruitment are you interested in? You're interested in seeing posts, which it pulls up with anything that has that keyword in. Are you interested in seeing people who work in inclusive recruitment, and do you want to connect with them? Are you interested in jobs in that area, and do you want to apply for them? And companies who kind of call out that as an important part of what they do. So just searching kind of keywords in your head is a very easy way to start building your network. Here's groups that kind of discuss and debate that topic. Events coming up, they're normally virtual that you might like to go along to. And it's a really good way to start building your network and really utilizing the power of LinkedIn and those 8 million people on it that will kind of have different ideas and maybe challenge your own. So like I said earlier, personalize your invitation, extremely important, and it's more likely that they'll connect with you if you just explain, do you know what, I'm new to LinkedIn, I'm looking for more connections, this is the area I'm interested in, and I see that that's an area you work in, and you'll be more likely to get a connection back. So settings then. So if you go onto your homepage and click on the little picture of you and then scroll down to the settings option, this is where you'll find all the different bits about your data and who can see what, and your preferences on privacy. I think the default setting is that once you if you look at someone's profile, they can see you've looked, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it kind of lets them know that you're interested in what they're doing. but you can turn that off if you want to. So have a play around with that. Just make sure you're comfortable with what you're putting out and what people can see of you. So just a few more slides then before I kind of open up to you if you have any questions. Job search, which we briefly went through with the other one, but you can see it's a little briefcase at the top. So you can type in anything that you might be interested in. I've put human resources because it's quite an easy search. I could put the location in. So I've kept it Limerick. You can broaden. You could say Limerick within kind of 40k. You say Limerick within 2k. You can sort by the date that it's been posted, the experience level that they're looking for, so that it's more suitable for you. The company, if you have a preference. Contract types, you might be just looking for a short term. And you could see whether it's easy apply. Easy apply means that you just apply with your LinkedIn profile, so it's quite handy. And I think the other one, which I just missed there at the end, or if it's remote or not. So it has loads of cool functions that really kind of sort through the kind of roles that might be relevant and interesting for you to go for. And then the last video I promise that I'm going to show you is UL Alumni. So it's a really cool feature and a really easy and quick way to build your network and kind of look and see what other people who may have studied something similar to you, to see what they've gone on to do and to connect with them and ask for their advice. So you go onto the University of Limerick page, you need to be following it. You go onto the alumni bit, you type in so you can actually just look by location if that's what you want to do, or you can be more specific. So again, I've used human resources, and it kind of says, you're looking for people in what area? So I've clicked Ireland, and then it's kind of called out people that might be good to connect with in that area. It's a really, really clever and strong tool. What I've done there is a really basic use of it, but you can really drill down into it. You can find people that graduated the same year as you. You can find people who studied really specific projects that you may have studied. So it's a really powerful tool for building up a really relevant network for yourself. So it's a really quick and brief session. You will have access to this recording, so please watch it back. And like I said, I'm happy to share my email address. So kind of the next steps then, I think, is probably to aim for all-star status if you're not there already. So just to recap, that's about having the photo, the headline, the profile, your current position, your experience, your education, and at least 50 connections. And I think using the tools that we've looked at today should be able to build your network quite quickly. Set up job alerts if you want to. So again, I really briefly showed you the job function, but it's really powerful and you can really tweak and tailor it to yourself, and you can set up notifications for yourself to receive emails if certain roles have become available, and use the alumni tool, which we just went through, to grow your network and have kind of really relevant connections so that your feed is very interesting. So that is me. I am going to stop sharing. No, sorry, I'm going to stop recording, and